All right, welcome everyone, and hopefully everyone is joining and listening to this beautiful time together with me and Bob Ferguson. Bob, thank you so much for joining these conversations. So today you're one of our heroes with Coaching by Nadya, my personal.
Right.
Thank you so much for being in our lives and in my life. So I'm going to introduce you properly. Shaklee, Senior Master Coordinator, Executive Director of the Sustainable Living Coalition in Fairfield, Iowa. All right, and Bob is going to share with us his journey to become, when I was reading the description, like super fit. Okay, let's do it. And actually looking and feeling younger compared to the age that is supposed to consider old. So let's go ahead and any words before we jump into the conversation. I just want to know, what are your 5 key strategies? But anything?
What are the 5 key strategies? Well, it's delightful to be here with you, Nadya, and everyone else. So, yeah, when you ask me, well, how do you stay youthful as you age? And I thought it through. I did come up with 5 strategies. Now, under those strategies are many sub-strategies, but these are 5 things that I find particularly useful. And I think one of the most important concepts is building habits around these strategies, because a strategy is only a strategy if you do it routinely, right? And only effective strategy. So let's do the 5 really quickly. The first one is sleep and rest. I go to bed in a disciplined way. I get up in a disciplined way. And I practice transcendental meditation now since I was 19 years old. I do that twice a day. And so I rest my system adequately. And there's all kinds of research that shows if you don't sleep enough and you don't rest your system properly, you simply don't have the capability that you do if you do. So that's strategy number 1. Strategy number 2 is a very, very clean diet. Now, I know some people actually feed their dogs more consciously than they do themselves, which I always find somewhat odd. But having a strategy for a clean diet, and if you don't understand what a clean diet for you might be, just Google Mediterranean diet. That particular diet probably has more studies on it than any other general diet, and it's a super healthy diet. It focuses on fresh vegetables, fruits, healthy oils, healthy sources of protein. And that's what we want to do. And retraining our taste. We have a taste that has been influenced by Madison Avenue, not traditional dietary wisdom as any Aboriginal or traditional society would have dietary wisdom passed down. We don't. You know, we are influenced by marketing and all that, and that hasn't had a really good effect on our health. So we want to be conscious about the basic diet that we have.
Yeah. So I want to pitch in.
No,
this was not practiced, but okay, diet. Share with us. It's been a real success for you and your team in the last several months. What are you doing? Some kind of prove it challenge, cleanse. What is it based on what you just shared?
Good. Yeah. So one of the things that we do with our Shaklee team nationwide every month is we do something called Prove It Health Challenge. Prove It Health Challenge is based on a 7-day healthy cleanse. This was developed inside our organization, and then Shaklee adopted it nationwide. It basically involves a week of vegetables, some fruit, lots of water, lots of healthy oils, sparing protein and grains and dairy and all that. And what that does, in a word, is it turns your body onto rinse cycle. And it helps toxins flush out, and people feel absolutely fantastic. So if, let's say, you've had a diet, I've had someone who went through that had a 6 to 8 Dr. Pepper a day soda habit. He recognized that wasn't a very healthy thing to do. He went through the cleanse and he's totally off of that, not feeling deprived, his body adjusted, and off you go. So one of the things that you can do is you can clean your body out and get your palate more used to vegetables and fruit. There are many guys who have done this who haven't eaten anything if it wasn't a meat or a potato for the longest time. And they get reintroduced to vegetables and they say, wow, these things really taste great. So that's one of the little hacks that you can do to reorient your diet in a successful way.
So what I want to point out before we move to the third strategy is it's not just doing by yourself. You said the team, you're saying we. So it's especially, it's like number one right now. We don't want to do it by ourselves and alone. When it's alone, it's like, well, you can't build a habit if you're by yourself. I mean, you can, but it's a lot of discipline, and it's just not having a discipline if it's a new habit. So in the community, in the group, in the support, you make things happen, and the community helps. So the strategy number one is sleep, rest, which meditation is a big piece. Number two, clean, fresh diet. What is number three? I still have blank.
Well, number three for me is nutritional supplementation. I've been using very significant amounts of Shaklee supplementation since I was 22. And you could ask, well, why would I do that? Well, Shaklee did a couple of very large epidemiological studies at UC Berkeley School of Public Health and Tufts Medical School. And the bottom line is that at the end of Landmark 2, which was 10 years after Landmark 1, Shaklee 73-year-olds, the average age of the people in the Shaklee group was 73 then. And because the people in the study had been long-time Shaklee users. So those folks had used Shaklee anywhere from 30 to 52 years, and they suffered 1/3 the adverse health outcomes as a general population, or even the population within the NHANES database that for people who are using a multivitamin. So I think there's plenty of good evidence that if you give your cells what they need and in abundance, as you age, you're going to age. All of us are going to die at some point or the other. I just don't want to prematurely age. I want to be able to be as vital and healthy as I can possibly be for as long as I can possibly do it. You know, die young as late as possible, I say.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. So what else?
Okay, so number 4 is exercise. And this is something where I have to tip my hat to you, Nadya. I was a wrestler, starting, this is scary, 56 years ago. I started my wrestling career in high school. And so I'd always had a penchant for staying in shape. I'm a tennis player and all that. But it was only 3 years ago that I really started to pay attention to weight-bearing exercise. I mean, I lifted a lot of weights and did that stuff, but not in an organized, structured way. You helped me do that. And because of that, at age 71 now, I'm in better shape than I was when I was 40. And that's really a wonderful thing.
I have to say something again, not practice. So you sent me a picture the other day. Okay, I bring it in. And you send it the picture, you know how someone sends you a picture and if you don't click on it, you only see a part of it. So there's a 35-year-old nice-bodied gentleman standing holding a certificate. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, nice body. And then I actually clicked on it like, oh, it's Bob. So honestly, in my head, I thought it was 35-year-old with nice body. So kudos to you for taking care of your health with sleep, rest, diet, supplementation, exercise. And so let me tap into real quick the second point, and then we will switch to the fifth strategy. You're saying what it was meant or still means for you to work out with me. Is there anything else that you would like to add? So you mentioned weight bearing, exercise. Is there anything else?
Well, here's the thing, and I've heard it from you, and I've heard it from my friend Kai Fusser, who is a trainer to LPGA stars, NBA stars, wakeboarding stars, the kind of the elite of those sports. He said, our body was basically made for fast bursts. We either made it up the tree or we didn't. And so because of that, if we're going to get our body into great shape, then we need to actually work on our muscle structure. And not only to survive an attack by a saber-toothed tiger or whatever, getting up a tree, particularly as we age, it's our muscles that hold our body together, holds our bones together. And it's also what makes us look good and feel good and raises our metabolism so we don't gain weight inordinately. And it's just fun. It's just fun. It hurts a little bit sometimes when you're doing it, hurts really good, but the pleasure afterward is very palpable. So I suggest to people that, yes, walking on the treadmill, but you know what? When I was training, before I trained with you, and I trained with Kai down in Florida, he'd unplug the treadmill and make me run the treadmill with my legs for a minute, minute and a half. He said, that'll do more for you than 40 minutes of walking or jogging on the treadmill. He said, we're fast burst kind of folks. So anyway, that's focusing on weight bearing. I think I've seen a lot of people say, I go walking. Walking is, if you're going to do only one exercise, my view, walking is really the best thing you can do. But you need to do more than that if you're going to age as gracefully as you possibly can. It's squeezing your muscles and making sure you do that, because that helps keep calcium in your bones. And as my mom said, I'm an old lady, but I will never be a little old lady.
Oh,
And you become a little old lady or a little old man when your bones start dissolving, if you will. So you do that with diet. You also do that by stressing your bones, by squeezing your muscles.
So strength training is one of your primary focuses. And of course, we want to add cardio for cardiovascular health, stretching to add mobility and flexibility.
Yeah, and stretching. I do asana yoga asanas. I have since I was 19, and that helps a lot.
Every morning, that's right. Sure, I know we just have 10-15 minutes. I feel like we can dive into each subject for a very long time, but for the sake of saving what we said, 10-15 minutes, the number one miracle strategy, what is it? Oh,
well,
number five.
Either number one, or number five. And these are not in any particular order of importance. They're what kind of occurred to me. Number five is relationships, cultivating relationships, strong relationships, warm relationships. And as a subset of that, being useful to your society. And that typically means being useful in your local area. Now, some people get to be useful on a national or international stage. That's not so many of us. All of us live in some place, and whether it's a tiny rural community or it's a little bigger rural community like Fairfield, 10,600 people, there's always more good things that can be done in the community that need people's attention than there are people to do them. And so number one is work at cultivating relationships with people. It takes work to do that, but it's fun work. And then find things to do that you can put your heart and soul in, because that's what gives texture and meaning and value to life. Last point before we wrap up maybe is the largest study ever done on human happiness has been going for multiple generations, started I think a little bit before World War II, since 1940. It's called the Harvard Study on Happiness. Yeah, that's probably not the real name of it, but it is Harvard Study on Happiness. And they took young men at Harvard and then started to follow them through their life. And there's been 3 executive directors over the, 1940, 80 years of the study. He said conclusively, without question, the most important determinant for happiness for anyone, regardless of their socioeconomic status, because there are very wealthy people, very not so wealthy people, the most important thing was the quality of their relationships. Doesn't matter how much money they had. If they had poor relationship quality, they had poor quality of life. They had a lot of unhappiness. So that, I suppose, we should probably put as first, cultivate relationships. You know what? It's hard to cultivate relationships if you're not feeling well, right? If you're not feeling good, first of all, if you're not rested, you can't do anything. And then if you're not feeling well or you're sick because your diet is poor, so everything relates to everything else. So I say, take those 5 areas, maybe you'll add some, but I think if a person develops healthy habits that they take seriously in those 5 areas, they're going to do very well in life. They're really going to enjoy their life as much life as they have. So that's
cultivating relationships, sleep and rest, clean diet, I'm looking at my notes as well, nutritional supplementation, and exercise. All right, Bob, my final question.
Yes.
What will be the advice that you give to someone who is saying, I'm too old, it's too late?
Well, since we're in polite company, I probably couldn't say what I was running through in my mind, but I would say something like, pshaw. Not at all true. Until you're dead, you could always shift your habits. And there's, you can go to YouTube and look up 90-year-old who started to lift weights and what happened. There's this really cool video about this guy who couldn't do anything. And he just decided to do one little increment at a time. And then he become a weightlifting dude and enjoyed his life a lot more. So until it's over, it ain't over. And you can always cultivate better habits and start your increase in happiness. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? If our life isn't for increasing waves of happiness, I'd ask you, what is it for?
Wow, that can be another conversation on levels of happiness. Yeah. Well, Bob, thank you so much for sharing your journey, sharing your 5 key strategies. Really, really crucially important. And we don't have to do them all at once. We can just take one step at a time, as you say, and it's all about building habits. All right. Well, everyone who is watching, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can refer to us or coachingbynadia.com. And we will see you soon in the community. Thank you, Bob. Okay.